Hello everyone, how you doing guys? A long time no see. I moved finally, so I'm in a new spot. I'm still between the boxes, so it's kind of tricky for me still to work and do kind of things, but we finally have internet and I'm getting used to the place. It feels really strange for me because I didn't change for a long time. So this is an energy update. I don't know how about you, but this lunar eclipse, a solar and a lunar eclipse, what we had, the last one like this year, was absolutely rocking the boats. Like, I mean, it was absolutely crazy, at least for me. We were moving in this time. I was expecting well, I didn't expect anything. I was not expecting such a craziness, but the move was really interesting. I was collapsing almost every single day under the pressure. So it was very difficult for me this time of the moving. Like, this type of move was extremely difficult because my daughter is around 7.5, and obviously, like, I'm not the type of person who accumulates the stuff, but they are. So I was dealing constantly with their stuff, like what they accumulated, and moving their stuff, and it was really like pissing me off, honestly. Well, the move was very difficult. The last night when I was leaving the old place, the father of my daughter burned the chimney. So we had a chimney on a fire because the frustration in the house between us, like how we are doing the things, went really like it was really intense. So I was expecting well, I was not really expecting like accidents like that, but there are no coincidences, there is only synchronicities. And when you are looking on everything in your reality as a reflection of your own consciousness, and if you understand how the reality actually works, then like things like chimney on the fire and the fire brigade being called in, like I was like standing in front of the house and I was like, wow. I was laughing, but they were not, obviously, like, neighbors, and like, it was such a like such a leaf, like such a show, like we set for the entire neighborhood in the old place. It was just unbelievable. Well, that was one of the biggest and hardest eclipses I ever encountered. I don't even remember in which planet this was on, and I know that there are many planets retrograde. There are a lot of squares, like, so from the astrology point of view, it was one of the most profound and most difficult, most like collapsing eclipse season that we ever had. Past, I don't know, like how many years, maybe 40-50 years. So once in a lifetime, I would say. It was a really, really difficult one. And that probably most likely affected, it affected the whole collective, but it most likely affected you in some way. Obviously, some people were affected less than another. Like, let's say for me, from my official spiritual awakening, like when I had a Kundalini awakening, I didn't change the place. I did not have any profound change in my external reality, except most of the changes I had were internal. So I was not changing the house, I was not moving somewhere, I was just did couple of travels, and then there was a pandemic, so I was actually forced to as well start doing these updates, putting myself out there, going out from my comfort zone, discovering my purpose. So I was reflecting a lot, and it's actually a good time to reflect right now because it's the end of the year, and most likely you are in a very profound period when you can reflect on what happened past 5 years or 3 to 5 years for you on a personal level, because there are a lot of changes collectively. You can see it, like the movement with the female rights, there is election, so a lot of political upheaval is there. The stock market is falling down. There is a load of collapses. And I think the November is gonna be more likely continue with these collapses. It depends, if you didn't collapse during the season, during now the eclipse season, you might have some collapses until the end of the year, because this is gonna continue. This is the financial system has to collapse. There is gonna be probably some interruption in the food chain, because also planetary, it looks like that we're gonna be looking a lot on our home safety, the roof, just the most basics, the roof above the head and the food. So when I moved to the place which I feel completely off. I don't resonate with this spot at all. So number one thing, as an energy update, what we will be looking at is, in whatever situation you are at right now, you might be trying to find the positives in the negatives or seemingly negative situations or circumstances. So trying to find the positives, and as well with the food, for example, I can give you an example. We moved here into this weird town. It's one of the weirdest town ever in Ireland. It's so outdated. I got wow, this is just such a wrong move. My first impression of this was it's a wrong move. It's so outdated. They did not do anything in here past 12 years. So there's nothing new built it past 12 years. They started to redoing the water system, I think last year. And I find out here in the back of the neighborhood that they start building something new in here, completely new houses, which is very unusual, for this particular spot, because we are between one of the very famous towns, and the government put money only there, but this one is just being a kind of left alone. But when I was I was first really, it put me down and completely off, and I was this is not a good move. Intuitively I felt this is not a good move. But I had this feeling that there might be something in here, and then I realized it's actually a perfect place for me to continue on my spiritual growth, because there is no distractions in the town. There is nothing in the town. There is no tourism. I think there is not even any a proper restaurant in here. It's just fast food and a shit. But the people are really, really nice, super friendly. We've got a woods behind the house. We've got a seaside, even though it's a little bit dodgy because there is old factories. So it's not really a perfect spot. But I practically have everything I really need right now, energetically, to balance myself out, that I could focus on something else. My daughter's happy at school. I've got a brilliant vegetable place actually I found in here in Super Value, which is another market, and I found they have organic section. They support Irish grow vegetable, the little farmers. So I was wow, this is exactly something I needed. So I'm in looking on all the positives in the seemingly negative situations, and this is as well gonna be this theme until the end of the year. You might be looking on that and re-evaluating your values, or looking more on what you value right now in this time of your own evolution, or in this time of your expansion. Because obviously if you are over 45 years or around 45 years, you won't be interested so much in a stuff what others that, let's say, 36 years old people or 35 years old people are interested in. You are in a different kind of a flavor of your life, so a different stage of your life, because you're practically going to the 50s. So what was once important for you, or what you considered as something what you would like to do is no longer gonna resonate with you, and you will be more maybe after, let's say, fulfillment and a purpose work. And I realized that this place is actually perfect for me to actually be able to focus on what I would like to focus on like the art and like all these energy updates and like all the counseling and all the to helping the people navigate their spiritual awakening. It is gonna be very beneficial for me because I've got a balanced environment for the nature. I got a woods and I got a sea, both in the same kind of like a walking distance. This way I can walk the dog, so I can, I can do the basic maintenance of all the things I created unconsciously, so I still have to deal with that. Obviously, I've got a daughter and a dog and a dysfunctional relationship on top of that. And so we're gonna be looking on the values a lot. That's one of the major themes. There are gonna be collapses, big collapses, emotional collapses, under the like prolonged stress, like that was like the one of the biggest for us practically, that collapsed, that we were forced out from the old house. The landlord was taking advantage of the market, housing market, and he didn't want to sell the house to us. He wanted to sell the house like as much as he could, so he would leave the people to fight for the properties. Ireland has a big like a house crisis, and this is like it's just something what I don't like. That what they are doing, that they put the price of the property for, let's say, 250,000 euro, and then they let people fight for it so they can put the price up. So we were kind of lucky that we actually managed to buy this place, even though you're buying somewhere in the you never lived. So it's just not really something what and it's not something what I want, but it works really well for my daughter, which is amazing, because once this is taken care of, I have a peace of my mind. So I realized that like for me as well, what I value, because I value a peace a lot and a freedom of the movement as well, and like my own freedom, like to do what I would like to do above anything else. So this is my priority, let's say. And having like the good source of the food, like the fresh and organically and honestly grown, and the nature. So I practically got everything what I needed right now to energetically keep myself aligned. And that's another theme. Like I noticed that people right now under this like a massive pressure, and the prolonged stress that they are going through, are starting to really realizing that the alignment for them is the priority. So they're picking up the practices, or they're changing the way they are doing things, or they're moving into different places, and so on. So this is another thing. But all these changes, let's say if you didn't change and you were forced to change, let's say like I did, I was forced to change. Suddenly there was no other option but that, because to being able to manifest something, we all have certain limiting beliefs. I started to looking on my limiting beliefs way deeper. So that's what like show up for me a lot, was like the depth of luck, because I'm coming from that cultural, because I'm from Czech Republic. So the cultural, and I carry as well a lot of the karma for my parents and my both of my parents. I'm dealing with a transgenerational trauma. I'm dealing with the ancestral and cultural imprints. So I'm clearing that. So I am right now, if you are the type of a soul that is coming from this type of a setting or this type of environment, then you're clearing the poverty consciousness as well, and the lack, through the manipulation and all the oppression that, let's say, Czech was going through. Let's say you are Bulgarian, if you're coming, let's say, from the communistic country, you might be the type of soul that is clearing this type of patterns, but it's not, it depends which year you were born. So you're gonna be more looking, your face will be in the luck right now. like you will be seeing all the luck, like the poverty, the people who are poor and homeless. And you might find yourself really staring into this one. And here comes as well another thing I want to mention: pay attention to your dreams. I've been like tortured past couple of nights. The dreams are really tricky. The fear is still the major theme. So you might find yourself, let's say, in the mass shooting in the dream state. That's what I was. I was in a mass suicide shooting. The people were shooting themselves into the heads in their in this like a group. So I woke up like really like distressed, like, you know, the dream states, the dreams are really like a puzzle pieces. Last night I woke up again in this like a really strange dream. It was very complex. It's gonna still take me a long time to deconstruct it, but as well make sure that you recognize as well if you are not being hijacked through the dream state. The energies are scrambled. The fear frequency of 19 hertz or 18 point whatever is still being very strong. I show you the Schumann Resonance chart in here. When the heartbeat of Earth goes down so much and the frequency of the fear is like being a little bit more visible and is stronger, so practically there are no other higher frequencies but this one, or the beneficial ones are not as much strong like the fear frequency. I notice it that every time the heartbeat goes like so low, I have really bad dreams. I'm really dealing with something like a fear-based, shame, lack, guilt, anger, and sadness. You know, like the lowest, like, but the most of the stuff, like the traumatic pieces. But last night I had a dream and there were like a lot of like family members, and as well as figures from the past, like in the statues, like the big, like the communistic figures, like Lenin, Gorbachev, that was our president. Gottwald was another one. And, you know, I still don't understand this, but what I intuitively feeling about this is that I am still dealing with something that is like cultural imprints on the political level. So this is gonna be really interesting because I think it has something to do as well with the election and, like, you know, with the political scene. So you might find yourself as well purging some kind of this stuff. You know, the political kind of the oppression, you know, and the manipulation through the political scene, and, like, you know, the illusions, like practically what the society used to live in. So you might be going through this, and if you were taken out of your place and like put into like during the eclipse season, if your reality was like disrupted completely, like mine, let's say, and you were taken out and putting in a completely different place, this is just a temporary, it's not a solution. You are still gonna be dealing with your challenges or with whatever you're dealing with. Let's say, I give you an example, let's say you lost everyone, and I don't mean that the people died, it could die or they didn't die. Let's say you're completely alone, okay? You lost all your friends or your family members or whatever, and you are completely alone. What might happen is that, I don't know, your building might be cut with the fire, or the place could be completely flooded, and you will be forced to move, to do the move. So practically we were forced to do the action, to perform the action, to move. You know, it could be many different ways. You know, let's say your car broke and now suddenly you were without the car, or, you know, you were smoking a weed and you were caught by the police and your driving license was taken away for let's say 2 years. So you were forced to like change, and let's say you decided to, okay, I'm gonna go for travel. You know, so there might be massive interruption or disruption during these eclipse seasons. Are always like a crazy, like a you are just being taken out and putting in somewhere else. But this is just a temporary. You are put into the other place that just you are actually able to deal with whatever you needed to still purge. So that's like a temporary solutions were created. So that's the like a little bit overall update. It's more like looking back on the old energies what we went through. I was posting on Instagram. Just follow me on Instagram if you want these type of updates. Another theme what is coming to surface this November, and it's gonna be until the end of the year, and I would say until the next Mercury retrograde, which is in January, I think, or February, I'm not sure, like next year, is restoration of the creativity, and that's sacral chakra, because we were dealing a lot with the sacral chakra. Another thing I want to mention for the women especially, there is I don't remember the name of the light worker. She's a starseed. She's Arcturian starseed. She's doing light language, and I used her light language to deal with the WAMP, and because I was filtering it through the collective, all the trauma through like the abortion, sexual abuse, and all these like I don't know sexual disease. Like when you get all these like AIDS or whatever you can catch, like. And she does the light language and actually helped me a lot because I was feeling so much pain. Her stuff, it looks really like this kind of like a magic here. She's doing like all this kind of like with the hands and like a tongue, which is really interesting. And I actually noticed that my daughter speaks this kind of language, and I was like, what she's talking about? And she's just like was like saying stuff in a completely different language. Like, and I was like, I was like, that's light language. And she says, yeah, I'm having new light beings. So this is kind of interesting that we are really getting more multidimensional, and it's good to start using these tools what we have. And this girl, she's a channeler. She channels like all sort of like a consciousnesses. She channels as well consciousness of money, which is really interesting. So you can get a little bit if you have like some issues or blockages around the finances. Her stuff is really powerful, very eye-opening, very expansive. I leave the link to her down below. It helped me a lot to dealing with like I think light workers persecution imprints, like when we as a star seeds or light workers, when we incarnate in here, a lot of you who had a past lives on earth and were executed or burned down as a witches, then we have some certain fears, and a lot of us having a problem with the money, and we are constantly being broke because we still don't understand as well this realm around like finances. So we're gonna be looking as well on the finances, home, food, values, and we are restoring the creativity that you could be fulfilled and unified sort of within, that you could actually live the life the way you're supposed to live it, like what's your design, what is your like a core blueprint. So that's the energy update. Be careful on your dreams. It's not gonna be smooth sailing until the end of the year. The energies are constantly pushing the stuff from the lower centers. There is a lot of hate, a lot of rage, a lot of anger, a lot of frustration is still remaining, and there is a lot of desperation as well on the top of that. People are lonely, people are sad. We feel more abandonment. A lot of these lower frequencies are just like like the shimmering on the bottom of the pot, and longer they do, and longer you suppress it, the longer you are avoiding to look on these things, harder it gets, because then you're gonna collapse. There are gonna be collapses. I had like emotionally I was collapsed like almost every single day the last week when we were moving. It was so difficult for me, like extremely difficult. So I had like my emotional like part. I took the big chunk. All right, so I covered that one. Finding, yeah. You might be feeling overpowered, like, you know, by the amount of the things what we are actually clearing right now. So you have to really take care more about yourself in whatever way, so that you make sure that the collapses you're going through, but allow yourself to as well collapse. You know, it's not as bad. We are so afraid of certain things, to experience certain things, just because of what we experienced in the past, what type of like perspective we attach to it, what we made it mean to us. That's why we are afraid. Let's say I was dealing a lot with shame. A shame is still as strong, and that's fragmentation, so we're gonna be constantly looking on these like a cocktail of lot of energies. The shame is there as well because of all the abuses, of the sexual abuses, of uh, the the children sex trafficking, all the, I don't know, satanistic rituals that are still going on. You know, lot of women, if you have a look, I think is like the percentage of how the women who are molested and abused is huge, you know. And then like a lot of women went through abortion, so that's another thing. A lot of us caught all sort of diseases on the into the womb, like the sexual ones, like, you know, we had all shitty type of relationships and fucked around, and you name it, like, you know. And so did our mothers, and so did their mothers, and so did the entire feminine stream of consciousness. So we are healing that part, and more like unifying and more like balancing those energies, masculine and feminine, obviously. So another way how to explore this is to through your natal chart, obviously, you know, for the astrology. It's your map. You know, I transcended a lot of these planetary influences already. For me, looking on my natal chart is just like confirmation of the past I went through. I'm already creating my way forward, my way, and based on that it's a brilliant tool, but use Vedic astrology. It's better because like there are major differences. I think there's a 23 degree of difference in the sign. I am not actually Virgo, I'm a Leo. And I've got a beautiful natal chart. I was like, wow, I'm not in my Leo power. I'm just getting into it right now. I got a lot of planets in Leo, and I have it really nicely and balanced, and actually really, really nice. And I was like, wow, that's really cool that I actually have such a good natal chart, actually, that I didn't even know, because it did a lot of things as a Virgo didn't fit on me. And the way I started to notice the differences actually is through someone else who is Pisces, but actually he's Aquarius. And I knew that none of the Pisces stuffs fit on him. And I started like looking on like the time when I was born. If you have a look on 1978, the time when I was born, the 10th of September, 10 minutes before midnight, if you have a look on the sky, my sun is actually in Leo, is not in Virgo. So a lot of our astrology is actually influenced a little bit differently. So have a look, dive deep into astrology, just like, you know, for your own self. Like, you know, I'm usually giving you always the tools that will more like force you to have a look on yourself by yourself, except instead of using someone else, just be the investigator. You know, there is nothing better than to know yourself, because if you do not know yourself, you cannot expand really. And the best way how to know yourself is doing this work by yourself, because until you are using another person, you are still not empowered. You know, it's still a crutch. So be brave to facing all those limitations as well, guys. And okay, so I leave you with this. Find the positives, focus on alignment until the end of the year, and reflect, obviously reflect, you know, and we are restoring the creativity, because like the creativity is in the sacral chakra, is in the womb, that's the center of the creativity. So all the astrology, all the chakra system, everything what is going planetary or energetically is all interconnected. Okay, be good. I wish you happy November. So I'm back doing the updates, and I see you next time. Okay, so follow me on Instagram. If you need me, you know where to find me. If you want some consultation, I've got a webpage, Hana Tesar space. You can find me there. Contact me through the Instagram. You can, you know, I can help you to shed some light on all sort of areas on your life if you need to, because sometimes when we are, let's say, I notice it on myself, I need sometimes to bounce back off the other people, like my ideas, or sometimes just confirmation that I am on the track and that I am picking up the energies the right way. So it's good that we have each other and we help each other, you know, we are doing this together anyway. So, and on the other hand, if you're here, then you are projecting me into your reality, so I am your own creation. So, you know, otherwise you wouldn't be here. So I love you, stay good, and I see you next time. Bye.